What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the six-man show for a very special edition bonus episode. It is April 20th when we're recording this. You guys will be hearing that on Friday. Is that like the 24th or something? Who really cares? Our guest, he usually doesn't care about what day it is anyways, but we've got a very special guest on the pod today. You guys may know him from YouTube. Very hefty following on that platform. We are here with comedian and YouTuber Drew Gooden. Drew, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. What an intro.
I've been doing this for a little while. You got to do the best that you can. I wanted to give you a proper welcome, and there it is. So, but we're really excited to have you, man.
I feel very special. Thank you.
Absolutely. Also here, as always, with my main man Luke Sylvia. Didn't give you quite as good of an intro, but you're here every single week. So
I want an intro like Drew gets every week now. That's what I want. You've set the bar.
Both of you do that for each other.
Right, we're gonna do it. We'll set each other up.
Being The Last Dance was last night, you know, the Jordan documentary. And at the other guard from the University of Florida.
Thank you.
Standing at 5'9", Luke Sylvia.
That's me.
How was that?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
That was pretty good.
All right. So
we're all getting acclimated to one another. So, we have gotten contact with Drew in the last week or so. We're fans of your content first and foremost. But this is an Orlando Magic podcast. You know, the fans want to hear about the Orlando Magic. You have a really sick Orlando Magic windbreaker that we saw on Instagram a few months back. So you're an Orlando Magic fan. You've attended, Orlando Magic games. So that's really where we want to start. Tell us, a little bit about yourself, your background. You grew up here in Orlando. Tell us how you became a Magic fan.
Yeah. So I've lived in Orlando pretty much my whole life. And to be honest, growing up, I was always into football, but for some reason, it took me a long time to get into basketball. I think because I was a Dolphins fan and still am, unfortunately, and I just could only handle one terrible sports team.
Whoa! Wait a second. Fair.
Hey, not this year. This year's been fun. Past 2 years have been good, and obviously there were the Dwight Howard years. But even then, I was in high school, and I was too moody to get into a new sport. I had attended games throughout the years. I remember in elementary school, there was since I live in Orlando, they would on your report card, if you got A's, they would give you a redeemable Magic game voucher. So I went to one with my dad.
That's
it was
the school
against.
I should have gone to.
Yeah, you should have. I should have stayed there into middle and high school, if they would have let me. But I went to, I believe it was a Magic and the Nets, the New Jersey Nets at the time. Magic lost, but it was still fun. And then as I got older and I started to get more into basketball, and especially last year when, that stretch at the end of the season and the Magic were an exciting team to watch, where the past 6 years have been, a struggle. I started getting really into it. And then this year I went from 0 to 100. I subscribed to League Pass. I started watching every single game. I started finding podcasts. Anyone that was talking about the Magic, I would get into. That's actually how I found your podcast. And I went to a few games this year. I went to the Nuggets, which was one of the sixth or seventh game of the year. And that was during that stretch in the beginning of the year when we could not score 100 points. It just became the thing. Every game we just couldn't get over it. And I think
I recall.
It was rough. We lost that one. I think that was another game we probably shot 18% from three, something like that. It was such a struggle to watch. But then I went to a couple others this year, and what I've always wanted to do was sit courtside at a Magic game. And if you check the prices, they always fluctuate depending on the opponent. But there was one game against the Wizards this year where my wife and I were able to go courtside for less than $500, and that includes free drinks, free food. And it was such a great time. And I got to see the other Drew Gooden because he does the color commentary for the Wizards. He sat 20 feet away from me.
That's amazing.
I didn't approach him because I was told not to. They reprimand you hey, don't touch any of the players, because you could if you really wanted to. But they're hey, don't do that. But that was awesome. And
did you tell them that your name was also Drew Gooden?
I probably should have used that.
I feel
I'm the other
in
Drew
that
Gooden.
case they have to let you.
Yeah. I would worry that the other Drew Gooden would think I'm stalking him or something, because I've tried interacting with him online before and he's shown no interest. I think he's like, who's this white kid like with my name? So I just, I respect him too much. I'm not going to bother him.
You brought up Drew Gooden, so I have to ask. I was asking Jonathan about this, if what he thought. But so your Instagram and Twitter handles, I believe, are Drew is Gooden, and the other Drew Gooden has the Drew Gooden usernames. So was that a result of like, did you want Drew Gooden at first when you were creating those, and it was all taken?
Yes, that hypothesis 100% correct. I've even since tried to, no disrespect to he's had a great career, but he's played in the NBA. That's better than anything I could do on the internet. But on YouTube, I would love to have /Drew Gooden. He has a completely inactive account on there. He hasn't touched it in like 7 years, and I've reached out to YouTube, and they don't care. They're not gonna they're not gonna do that. But I've accepted the rebranding. I'll let him. He was the first Drew Gooden. I'll be the second. That's fine.
Yeah, but that's like you're like an NBA player when it comes to like people aspiring to be YouTubers. So like YouTube should just give you the nod.
I think
in that case.
I think that's exactly what that means.
That's a good point.
We'll see. We'll try to use our platform to help you out. We'll see if YouTube will give us any leeway on that.
Thank you. I will be sending this episode straight to YouTube headquarters. So.
Perfect. So consider it done.
That's the way they see it.
We've got about like 12 subscribers on YouTube, so they're definitely going to take into account what we say. So that's awesome.
I think so.
No, I love the fact, what you brought up about, really getting into the team the last couple of years. Like you mentioned, it's been so hard to watch Magic basketball for such a long time. So, what would you say, obviously being from Orlando, what would you say perhaps to a fan or someone living in Orlando that just quite hasn't like taken the plunge into Magic basketball? What are they missing out on, especially the last couple of years?
Well,
what is it about the Magic that just hooked you? Sorry.
They became a really fun team. I mean, especially that stretch at the end of last year. I love the style that they played when things are firing on all cylinders. I love the defense, the lockdown defense leading to easy offense rather than putting up 50 threes a night or whatever a large number of threes would be, like a James Harden type. No disrespect to him. It's just I don't love to watch that style of basketball as much as I do the team first style that we've seen from this team at their best this season. And when you have young guys on the team like Jonathan Isaac, like Markelle Fultz, who seem to be future stars, super likable dudes, it seems like a great time to jump on the bandwagon and start paying attention, because this team's a lot of fun, and I think there's nowhere to go but up. Hopefully,
But yes, given what they gave us the past 6-7 years prior to last season, there is nowhere to go but up. But like with Steve Clifford was just last year was a breath of fresh air, because he took virtually the same roster and made it to the playoffs. So that was huge. Obviously, the end of the season was a lot of fun. I know people who weren't Magic fans or who were even tuned into the stretch that we had at the end of the year to push us into the playoffs and even grab a 7 seed. I remember thinking how great it was that we had the 7 seed, because for a while, we didn't even know we were going to make the playoffs. And then that push happened. So there's definitely a lot of exciting stuff that's happened in the last 2 years or so. But yeah, I mean, we also kind of touched on YouTube very briefly just now. Is there anything, what kind of got you into YouTube? I know you started with Vine, but what made you say, like, when Vine was done and died?
R.I.P.
Right.
Yeah,
What led you to then try YouTube? Did you have a YouTube channel during the Vine days? What was that experience like for you?
Well, if anything, I think Vine ending, as heartbreaking as it was at the time, for me personally, it sort of pushed me to branch out in a way that I had wanted to for a while. I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I was very complacent. Well, I've got a few 100,000 Vine followers. I'm the road work guy. Like, I don't need to, branch into YouTube. But then seeing some other YouTubers that I like H3 was, they do the same style of videos, like commentary videos. And I was like, oh, you can just kind of talk about stuff and people like that. And I can put like my sketches in it, but have it be sort of centered around a subject or a topic or whatever. And it was just, I started doing it because it was fun. And it, eventually it started to take off and it became my job. And it was like, well, this worked out great. But yeah, I mean, I would say I do miss Vine, but that was a big catalyst for me.
So I have another question in regard to YouTube. I did a deep dive into your videos in the past few days.
Thank you.
And you know, through some likes here and there, I trying to help you out, you know.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
And there was
Did you
one
subscribe?
right. I subscribed, of course.
Did you turn on the bell?
Oh,
That's so important. It's okay.
We'll get there.
Doing that right now.
Yeah,
One
right
thing-
now.
one thing at a time.
Let me pull up my YouTube app right now. No, but one video that I watched that had me laughing quite a lot was your "How to Attract a Man" video from the 50s,
yeah.
reacting to that propaganda. How do you? That's such a random thing. How do you kind of? What's your process kind of like in terms of, you know, seeing something, seeing a subject, seeing a topic, and deciding, like, do you dig deeper into this? Do you do a video on this? Like, how would you kind of get to that?
Well, I spend a lot of time watching YouTube, and it's so easy to fall down rabbit holes. If you click on one weird video and then suddenly it's recommending more to you, and you're like, oh, this is like a whole thing. I could keep digging into it. And for me, like, when I'm looking for something to talk about in a video, it either needs to be like really kind of messed up, where I can be like, hey, this is bad that this person's doing this, or something that's more lighthearted. So it's not something, I don't want people to watch all my videos and be like angry afterwards. I want them to sort of be able to laugh at something with me, and, you know, I want to put a smile on their face rather than just be, you know, bring their mood down and be like, doesn't everything on the internet suck? Don't people suck? Well, bye. You know. So but there's a lot of things I find where I'm like, oh, I would love to make a video about this, but I can't, especially as I've grown too. You know, you don't want to punch down. That's the thing. I don't want to make a video about some small channel somewhere and be like, hey, this guy sucks. And, you know, I try to focus on people who are above me and, like, you know, really doing messed up things if I were to do a hit piece or something like that. But
Absolutely.
No, I along with Luke, found that video absolutely incredible. I really would have loved to see your commentary on the Orlando Magic the previous 6 years. Like, anytime you're not liking what's going on with the Orlando Magic and you want a place to vent and do so in the style that you do on your YouTube channel, please feel free to reach out. You'll be welcome any single time. I would find that absolutely hilarious.
I'd love to. It sucks there's no basketball right now, but when it's back, I'd love to chat with you guys about the team. That's actually a personal goal for me. Because I love sports so much, but I haven't found a way to incorporate it as much into my YouTube channel. I'd like to, by the end of the year, start making, you know, I hint at it, but I want to, there's a video I've been writing about how I feel like sports video games have kind of gotten worse over the years, especially Madden, and 2K is kind of following in their footsteps.
Yep.
It's still fun, but it kind of peaked a few years ago, and there's all these microtransactions. But I'd like to transition more into, like, things I'm passionate about, which is sports. I love sports. And at least right now, I mean, there were definitely times this year where, you know, we had good stretches and times and not so good stretches where I'm sure if I sat down and recorded myself, I could have yelled for 20 minutes about, you know, Steve Clifford's rotations at the end of a game, or, you know, Fournier.
I would do that every night.
Every day. Yeah. There were some rough games. Or Fournier thinking he is, you know, the only one who can score.
Right.
Don't get Luke going.
Right.
Yeah, he is a great spot up shooter, but he's not the shot creator he thinks he is. How many times do we have to see this year, the last possession of a game, him turn it over? At least 3, right? That happened at least in 3 games.
Yes. It might be more than that, but at least that, yes.
Yeah. But
yeah.
So, here I go. I'm getting heated.
Listen,
I like it.
We're giving
good.
you the fuel to start talking about it on your YouTube channel, Drew. That's all it is. And we you know, you hit on a couple things actually right there that both Jonathan raves about a lot, and doesn't rave. He complains about a lot, which is Steve Clifford rotations, and then Evan Fournier. You know, there's some things here and there.
He's miscast. That's what I'll say.
Exactly.
I try to be an Evan defender. There's a lot of negativity surrounding Evan Fournier. I try to be the guy to be like, listen, he's not that bad. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard.
He's miscast in his role.
That's a good way to describe it, because there are certainly games this year we would not have won without him, you know, just being a lights out shooter. Like, you don't want to overlook his ability to turn it on when he can, but then there's times he just tries to do too much, and it's like, that's not how this offense should be, especially when you have someone like Markelle showing how smoothly the offense can run when he's got the ball and he's making the decisions. But yeah, certainly some games where it's like, what are you doing, Evan?
Well, hopefully we'll be able to get back to that pretty shortly. Luke and I were talking on the podcast yesterday when we recorded that. The league is talking about potentially, possibly, bringing the league back in a bubble, meaning basically games with no fans, living basically out of hotel rooms essentially. And also Keith Smith wrote an article yesterday, or possibly it was the day before, where he had the idea that if the league were to return to action, that they should do so at Walt Disney World, incorporating the ESPN Worldwide of Sports and a few of the, hotels and resorts that they have there. So, me at least, kind of being biased, but I would just love to see the NBA return and Orlando to get a little bit of shine for a little bit. But I wanted to bring up the quarantine to ask you kind of what have you been up to, during the quarantine? Everybody's just kind of doing their best to get through this thing.
Yeah, it's been rough. One positive to come out of all this, and this is as I started to say that sentence, I realized it's very dumb in the grand scheme of things. But one positive is that I think we'll all never take sports for granted again. There's always something on, and it's been so great. And with basketball, it's like every other night, sometimes 2 nights in a row, there's always a game to watch, or even if your team's not playing, there's another good game going on. And now that we've had nothing, and the only thing being aired are golf tournaments from the early 90s, it's like, okay, I do miss live sports. I apologize for getting frustrated at times, or
that's something that has kind of been really weird about this transition. I came on the podcast as a co-host with Jonathan about a month and a half ago, and it's been weird. I've not spent an episode on the show where we've had sports. I came in right when sports got canceled.
Yeah, I remember that.
When it hit, and it was just kind of this whole I don't know, like it was a very weird time to hear that, like, it all started with the Utah Jazz and OKC game, and just like the domino effect that it had was something that, like, we've never seen before.
Never. And it was so quick too. It was like all in one night. Gobert, season's canceled, and it's like, wow, you took a nap and you'd miss like the I think that was the night they announced Tom Hanks too. It was like this crazy hour on Twitter, unlike anything we've seen ever.
Yeah, it was definitely unreal.
If you fell asleep early that night, you just woke up to a completely different world. It's like going to sleep in, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, waking up in I Am Legend. Like, completely different, just instantly. My wife and I were laying in bed, and, the story is unfolding in the, OKC arena, and we're like, they're not going to cancel the NBA. There's no way they'll cancel the NBA. And next thing you know, it was the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, it was just everything, just gone. Mm-hmm. And like you said, there used to be times where you turn on the TV and you're like, the Pelicans are playing the Knicks. I don't care to watch. I mean, this season you did with Zion, but before that, I don't care. And now it's like what I would do for a Knicks and Charlotte Hornets game.
What I would do for a baseball game right now.
Yeah.
I don't
like
consume
baseball anyways, but
I don't watch baseball, and I promise you, I'd watch a couple baseball games right now.
Yeah,
Anything.
I'd watch a batting practice right now.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I thought you were gonna say badminton. I'd watch that too.
Well, let's not get crazy.
Oh.
No, I would watch it.
I don't know, man. It's just so odd. And now they're saying that the NBA is saying the cutoff date is Labor Day, which I believe is September 7th, like that weekend. So it's just kind of scary. The closer we get to that date, the more unlikely it is that we even get basketball for the rest of the year, which is so just weird, man. I can't like stress that enough, how it's like we've touched on. It's just so unprecedented to have a time where everything's gone. And it was like last night, the MJ doc on ESPN aired when there'd be, primetime ESPN basketball games on. So obviously their crowd, they got a huge listenership, viewership. Yeah, playoff games at that. So just weird. And, ESPN, Jonathan and I were talking last night, and he said, I just read a tweet that said that ESPN finally has a time slot where they can sell ads, or like sponsorships, where people actually want those commercials because they're watching, because the MJ doc is the first thing they've had in like a month. So
I think the only thing they've been able to talk about on ESPN is they have the same argument every day about LeBron being the GOAT or not. That's sort of just every day, Stephen A. Smith or whoever.
It was always that anyway, and now we've got the MJ doc coming out, which has completely refueled everybody. Yeah. So it's it's definitely, it's just odd. But I mean, with that being said, Drew, we have some rapid fire questions for you that we'd love to get into. We just spent some time writing. As I told you, we've been kind of researching and watching videos, and I actually came across a podcast episode that you did with Cody Ko. He was hosting it, and Danny is your best friend, right? One of the guys that you're typically with.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And you guys were on that show, and you guys were talking about how you'll use a prop and you'll put it in your closet and it's never to be seen again in a video or anything. So with that being said, one of these questions is, what's the weirdest thing you have in your closet that's a prop?
Oh man, that's a great question. I have so many things. I have, the first thing that came to mind, I don't know if this is the weirdest, but I have a full-size Halloween costume that's just a giant peanut.
That's pretty great.
I just own that forever now. I think that there's an asterisk to that because I did originally buy it to wear on Halloween, but I never did, so I repurposed it to use in a video. But that's just going to collect dust forever. That's never coming back out of the closet.
Are you sure? We don't see it in the next Drew Gooden video?
You're right. Maybe I should. I should just do a whole video wearing that and not say anything about
it. You should.
Even...
I think that'd be great. I think you have. I think the aesthetic would be great. The peanut. You've got the light, the Hey Guy light in the background. Mm-hmm. And you've got your little. I know you have like
a sign.
Yeah. So I think that would be good in that peanut costume for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next question here. So, you've been following the team for a few years now. So, you're getting more into basketball. So my question is, how much basketball have you played in your lifetime? Not really getting in basketball until recently. And if any Magic player, past or present, that would be most comparable to your skill set, who would it be?
Oh no. Well, I do like most people. I love shooting hoops. There's very few people who would say that that's not fun. We have a park near our house that I used to drive to every once in a while. It's just a good workout. It's more fun than going for a run or something, just running around shooting hoops. Mm-hmm. The only time I ever played basketball in like an organized setting was in 5th grade. I tried out for the basketball team. And what that was it was sort of like an assembly line of small children shooting, like they would have you shoot like a couple layups, I think, in a row, and then a couple 3-pointers, and it wasn't super, technical or whatever, but I'm pretty sure I missed every single shot. And weirdly enough, I did not make the team. So if there's someone to compare my
I think you might be a JJ Redick type. We put you just on the perimeter, you coming off screens, and you're knocking them down the whole time.
Yeah, it might take me like a few years, maybe like 10 years to really hone my jump shot. But then I would be a pretty good sharpshooter, I think. But do not ask me to play defense or run around at all because I'll get tired very fast.
I like it.
So, I'm envisioning Drew just shooting hoops for the next 10 years of his life at that park, and telling us when he's finally got that JJ Redick jump shot down. I think that'd be good. I think
it's a park that's right next to a middle school. So I'm also picturing me just yelling at kids to get off my court while I'm practicing my jump shot.
Did you ever see that Peyton Manning skit SNL where he's playing football?
That. Oh, that's I've watched that a million times.
That's what I picture with you right now.
Get your head out of your ass. I love that.
Oh, it's so awesome. Good. And the last rapid question that I have, Jonathan might have more, I'm not sure, but we proposed this on our episode yesterday that came out today, Monday. I said to him, my wife and I have been having a lot of time for extra conversation, as many married couples have. So you have to get creative with what the conversations and questions you ask each other. So the one that I asked her was, if you could eat one meal 3 times a week, you had to eat one meal 3 times a week for the rest of your life, what would that be? So for instance, mine is chicken and rice and sweet plantains from this restaurant back in where I'm from in Ocala, Florida. And then Jonathan was also from his hometown to some barbecue. So with that being said, what would be your one meal for 3 times a week for the rest of your life?
Is it 3 times a week or 3 times a day?
3 times a week. We're not going crazy.
Okay.
We're letting you eat a little. We're letting you eat somewhere else.
Oh man, I like so much food. I think I would say chicken tikka masala is one of my new favorite foods. For a long time I never tried Indian food, and then that's sort of a good entry into it. And I love it. There's a place in Winter Park that it's the best with garlic naan bread. You dip it in, it's so good. That would be mine.
Chicken tikka masala. I've never heard of that.
My stepmother is actually from Scotland, weirdly enough, and that's like whenever she cooks, that is her go-to meal, and I do enjoy that. Obviously, what you're describing is probably a little bit better, a little bit more authentic.
I don't know.
The last I checked,
Maybe.
Indian food wasn't from Scotland, but
Yeah.
no, so I can definitely feel that. So I have a random one that just came to mind. So you love food, right? Are you a fast food guy?
I am. Maybe that's another positive of the quarantine is I haven't really had much fast food at all lately. I went from having Taco Bell like 3 times a week to I just kind of cold turkey quit. But yes, I am a fast food guy.
Have you started twitching yet a little bit? Your Taco Bell withdrawals?
Yeah, it's rough. I miss the cheesy gordita crunch. It's so good. But.
Wait, so in Florida, Drew, I'm out in Omaha, Nebraska now. It's kind of where my job took me. But with that being said, here everything is open. There's not really, I don't know. There's not much. Nobody's stopping me and my wife from going to get food. Places are still open. You just can't go inside.
Right.
Is that how it is in Florida right now, or what is
it depends on the business. Like all the Starbucks around me are closed, but then like all the Dunkin' Donuts are still open. I think I don't think there's any mandate to do it. So the business, it's kind of up to them. So some are trying to be more responsible, and some are like, hey, if the government's not going to tell us to close, we're going to try to keep making money. Which it's tough to just close your doors for months at a time. So it's a situation I don't envy, or a decision that I don't envy having to make. But I don't know about Taco Bell. I haven't tried recently. It's more just like we're trying to keep my immune system at its highest, just in case anything were to happen. So we're trying to cook more and eat more vegetables. And
yeah, us too. We're definitely trying to eat more vegetables. My wife and I are expecting a child in October, so she's trying. Thank you, man. So she's trying to eat as many vegetables as she can, whereas I'm cool with just going to Chick-fil-A every day. So I've had my fair share of definitely Chick-fil-A. We had Chick-fil-A for lunch today. We have the app, so we have all the rewards and everything like that. And so, it's just a lot of, it's hard because it's you can justify eating out now because it's like I just need to get out of the house.
Right.
That's what I need. And I'm not able to do that. The parks are all the parks around here are closed. So it's just like, food is legitimately the only thing getting us out of the house right now, and an unusual grocery run like once a month.
For me, it's taking out the garbage and getting the mail. 2 things I used to hate to do. Now it's like, I get to go to the mailbox.
Right. Yeah.
At my house, it's just been really a fast food smorgasbord. We've been getting like Arby's, Taco Bell, Steak and Shake, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A. We've just been hitting it all. I love fast food. Like the Checkers commercial, fast foodies know the deal. I definitely know the deal.
They're talking about
fast foodie through and through. Absolutely.
That is John.
If you have not had the Fry Lovers burger at Checkers, I've told Luke about this. It is a must-have.
I could go for a Chick-fil-A milkshake right now. They have the best milkshakes.
What's your go-to? What flavor?
I've tried a few different, but you can't beat vanilla. I don't care for vanilla. It's just too boring. But it's so good. I don't know why. It's the best.
Yeah, this is not a Chick-fil-A ad, by the way. However, I will go on to say their strawberry milkshakes, incredible. Had one the other day.
Really good too.
Chick-fil-A, I'm all about the cookies and cream milkshake. All day.
So you can't miss with their milkshakes. That's
all you really can't.
You can't at all. But
all right, Chick-fil-A.
Right. Chick-fil-A, please, if you want to sponsor us, you can do that. No, but then I lied. Actually, I do have another question for you, Drew. Which YouTuber, past or present, would you want to collab with?
Did you guys ever watch Dax Flame? I don't know how familiar you are with YouTube.
So I actually know the
much.
name. There's a lot of YouTube possibilities.
There's so much. I know. It's crazy. Sometimes you'll hear about a YouTuber with like 20 million subscribers, and you're like, I've never heard of this person. How does the internet is so big? But I used to watch a lot of YouTube when it first came out, the first couple of years, like 2006, 2007 era. And there was a YouTuber named Dax Flame, who I don't think that was his real name, but that's just what he called himself. And it was like, no one could tell if he was playing a character or not. He was just really awkward and funny, and he would tell stories about girls at school, and it was like really wholesome but funny, like sort of the beginning of cringe comedy, but you couldn't tell if he was in on the joke or not.
Right.
But I always was just fascinated by him, and I would love to meet him and shoot something together, but I don't know what he's up to now.
So he's done with YouTube now. Like
I think so, yeah.
How long ago do you think that he stopped?
He only did it for a few years, so I think he probably stopped in like 2008, 2010, maybe.
Oh, gotcha. Early on.
All right, so last question that I have, this kind of just came to mind here. So being as how you got, your start on Vine, and I'm sure you have a affinity in your heart for, the what is now defunct app, basically.
I do.
How do you feel about TikTok? Have you thought of kind of jumping back into that really like, short, quick video content and kind of get back to your roots a little bit?
Yeah, at first I didn't like TikTok at all. TikTok, before it was TikTok, it was Musical.ly, which was essentially just teenagers like lip syncing songs, and I always thought that was really dumb. But then they rebranded, and there's a lot of really funny people on TikTok. There's like every type of content you could see is on TikTok, so I'm a fan now. For me personally, I think I really like doing what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
That unless I have just like a quick idea to do something, like I'd rather I like working on bigger projects, and I just like sitting and talking, and I don't know. Vine was really good for me at the time, but now, and they did release a Vine too. I think the same creators. It's called Byte, but that didn't really take off because it's just it was a flash in the pan kind of thing, or lightning in the bottle kind of thing. It was perfect for the time, and now you can't come back with Vine 2 now when there's TikTok that has so many features in it, like filters and songs built in and stuff. But for me personally, I'd rather watch TikToks than make them.
So you're more of a consumer.
Yeah, I am.
And that's perfectly fine. My wife is just completely addicted. Every single time I look over, either Candy Crush or TikTok. That's basically
that was
all
my
that
wife
about.
too for a very long time. She had to delete TikTok because she couldn't stop scrolling. It's hard because you just scroll and it never ends, so you're just on there for hours. It's easy.
It definitely is like, now that you say that, I hadn't really thought of it. I don't personally have TikTok, but I think my wife has downloaded it before just to see what it was about. And it's true. You can. It's kind of like YouTube in the sense that you can just jump into so many different types of videos.
Yes.
And just scroll forever. And that's kind of like YouTube. That's the same type of, I don't know if it's addictive way of like, doing something. Like it kind of is that. There's that thing that just kind of reels you in and you just continue watching. But I definitely think TikTok is probably not helping when it comes to everyone's kind of addiction they have to their phones. But
yeah, I mean, it's good and bad. I feel like these companies, like the creators of TikTok, they really figured out psychologically what keeps people on their app. And now you're on an app like TikTok, and there's this idea that there's always something else waiting for you. You never really, there's not like a stopping point. You just keep going. And YouTube's the same way. They're always recommending something else. You're like, oh, I'm going to click on that now. And then you don't even finish that video because a more interesting one pops up. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Luke, I don't have much else for Drew. Do you?
No, I think I'm good. I think our rapid fire questions, we asked a few more than we thought of, but I think we had some fun doing it.
Well, that's the
Can
nature
I
of
ask
rapid fire.
You a basketball question? Let's get back to basketball.
Please do.
So I believe 2K has been doing like an official simulation of the season, and according to the official one, Magic finished at the 7th seed, and the 2nd seed was actually Boston. which was interesting. I'm curious to hear, if we were to get the 7th seed, what do you guys think is the ideal matchup for Orlando in the 2 spot? Also realistic, a team that would actually be able to get to the 2 spot. Would it be Toronto, Boston, Philly, Miami?
Right. Jonathan, I'll let you take that one.
All right.
I'll come back with it.
My personal opinion, obviously it's definitely not Milwaukee. Milwaukee is, the 1 seed is locked in.
No way.
Thank God. So if we were to end up the 7th seed, that would not be possible. But if we just go back to basketball and jump right back into the playoffs, we're looking at Milwaukee, and that's not going to be a good time for anybody, really. But no, for me, I really think Toronto, one, it just kind of stirs up the old feelings of last year, gets you right back into the swing of things. Very exciting. Our guys are familiar with that environment. They're familiar with that locker room and everything like that. So as comfortable as you can be in a playoff environment, I think the familiarity of that would be pretty kind to them. But on the other hand, a huge part of that series last year was Kawhi Leonard. It was just every single time the Raptors needed a bucket, it was Kawhi Leonard. The guy just could not miss. No matter what Aaron Gordon was doing, the ball was just going through the net. Now, without Kawhi Leonard, obviously they're still a really, really good team. Went on like a 14-game win streak during the regular season. But I do think that we would match up better with them this year than we did last year. And if like Jonathan Isaac or Al-Farouq Aminu were able to come back and be healthy, that would be huge as well. But I do like the idea of Boston as well. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, Boston would be great with me. Obviously, like you said, we don't want to touch the Bucks, but I don't want any part of that. I'm done.
No.
I want to be done playing them for the year. You look at our season series with Toronto has kind of gone the same way it went with the Bucks. I wouldn't mind Boston, but to be honest, I think it would be really great for the entire state if we could get somehow a Heat versus Magic lineup. If we're throwing seeding,
blood in the streets.
We're throwing seeds out the window. Drew's question was pretty broad. Who would you guys want to go against? I think it would be Miami. I love it. I love engaging with their fans on Twitter and Instagram. They get so fired up, and you poke them once, and then you've got like 30 of them on you. So I think I would enjoy that a lot, especially seeing how Miami has a pretty abysmal road record, which I've talked a lot about on the podcast. Their road record's not that great. And the only thing I would worry about is what everybody worries about, which is like if we went to Miami for the first 2 games of the series, might be a little partying that happens. Miami nightlife might get the victory. I think that would produce the most storylines. I think it would be the most fun for fans. I think that's my answer. I think I would go with the Miami Heat as my dream matchup.
The state of Florida might literally fracture in half if that were to happen.
That would be so fun, though.
Yeah.
And out of all of the options, I feel like the only one that, like, as much as fun as it would be to go against Toronto or Boston or really any team, if we're being realistic, it's probably not going to be a winning effort either way. There's a small possibility with Miami because of their away record. Maybe we steal 1 game in Miami. And then Philly would probably be the only one we matched up really well with them this year. That would probably be my dream scenario, just in terms of like the storyline with Markelle, and then just in terms of a matchup. They're so hot and cold, and they have the same issue where they just can't play. They can't win outside of Philly the way that Miami can't win outside of Miami. But
very true.
Man knows his stuff. I like it.
But I would go with any at this point.
Give me anybody.
I would watch
the 96 Bulls.
I don't care. Yeah, maybe we can steal 1 game. Who knows? But
Absolutely.
Probably not, but hey, it'd be good to watch.
If we did, it would go right up there.
All
with
the
game
sweeter. I would just love that I had basketball on my TV.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, if either of you guys don't have anything left, I think we're going to wrap up here. Drew, first of all, just thank you so much for coming on to the show. This was an absolute blast having you on. Eventually, hopefully, we're going to get back to Orlando Magic basketball. We'll be able to see you courtside again, hopefully sometime soon, and we'll see the guys back on the floor here. So, but thank you guys so much for listening to the 6-Man Show this week, this bonus episode. We will be back again on Monday with a new episode. So for Drew, for Luke, this is Jonathan. Thank you guys for listening to the show. We will catch you guys next time. See ya!